This week, Judge Tanya Chutkan, who of course is overseeing the January 6th case against Donald Trump, made a ruling that kind of laughs in the face of the Supreme Court's immunity ruling by flipping it around and using it against Donald Trump. So here's what happened. Jack Smith, special prosecutor, of course, wanted to submit a new filing that included hundreds of pages of evidence that had not been previously disclosed to the public and a bunch of other claims, basically new stuff that they've got. And we want to add this to it, but we also want this to be public. So Jack Smith said, not only will I give you this filing that is expected to be more than 200 pages, I'll also make another basically file for you with all the bad stuff redacted that we cannot release to the public so that you can release some of it to the public and you don't even have to do the heavy lifting of going through and figuring out what can and cannot be released. I'll do it for you. Donald Trump's lawyers, of course, objected to this, and they said, you can't do this. It's too close to the election. We need to do it after the election. And Chutkan was like, nope, you know what? The Supreme Court gave me a job to do when they handed down your immunity ruling, and by God, I'm going to do that job. And part of that job, of course, does include letting this information go into the court record, which then becomes public. And she said, I'm going to do it. Here it is. Chutkan's decision allows the Justice Department to put into the court record parts of the investigation against Trump that are not yet publicly known. The brief is due Thursday, which is today. It's expected to exceed 200 pages, including exhibits, and is meant to convince courts Trump should be prosecuted for alleged obstruction and conspiracy criminal activity. It's a rare avenue for evidence to be aired in court before a trial. But Chutkan, in a 6-page opinion, said she would allow such an outsized briefing because the Supreme Court, in its recent decision to give Trump's actions presidential immunity from prosecution, has directed her, as the trial judge, to look closely at facts in the case to decide if some allegations could move forward to trial. So Chutkan basically said, listen, if you read that Supreme Court ruling, they literally said, I have the authority in this case to determine what is an official act and what is an unofficial act that can be prosecuted. And I can't make that decision if I don't have everything in front of me. And in order to put everything in front of me, we got to put it in the court record, so it's gonna be public. Wow. Now, when this filing gets submitted today, it will immediately be under seal. So we will not immediately have news reports of all of this horrible information that is now public, but she is going to make it public prior to the election over the objections of Donald Trump's people. So maybe it becomes public tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe a couple weeks before the election. We don't know. It could happen at any point in time. She's got to go through it first, obviously, make sure everything's okay, including with the redacted version that Smith is also going to file for her. But he did a good job, Smith did, of making sure that we're going to make this as easy for you as possible. I'm going to give you the redacted version, so when you're ready, you send that out to the public, and there you go. You don't even have to do it. And Chutkan herself was even more creative than that by using the Supreme Court's own ruling against Donald Trump. Because that is exactly what she's doing. They gave me the authority. I need to be able to see everything. I got to make a decision here, Donnie. And I can't do an equation if I don't have all the variables. So, as I said, Trump's lawyers, super not happy. And they were like, this is gonna influence the election? This could taint the potential jury pool, they tried to argue. And Chutkan wasn't having any of that bullcrap. In her ruling, she said, quote, a party's factual proffer does not conclusively establish anything. It merely provides evidence for the judicial fact finder to consider. The schedule reflects the court's best judgment about how to comply efficiently with the Supreme Court's instructions on remand. The court need not address the substance of those claims, talking about Donald Trump's claims that it could affect witnesses or the jury pool. Defendant does not explain how those putative violations cause him legal prejudice in this case, nor how this court is bound by or has jurisdiction to enforce Department of Justice policy. So again, using it against him like, hey, we have no control over the DOJ policy. She's like, but it's their policy. I've got to do it. Jack Smith has to do it. We've all got to do it, Donnie. We're just all victims of the same game. The same game, by the way, that you started playing when you packed that Supreme Court. When you decided to get the Supreme Court involved in this case. That's on you. And now all we're doing is using it against you. It's not our fault you're in the middle of a presidential race. It's not my fault that in order to do this properly, it does have to go into the court record, which then gets released to the public. That's not on me. We could have done this a year ago. We could have had this done, wrapped up, tied with a bow before the summer started. You decided to drag it out, and now you get to be the one to deal with those consequences. That is what Chutkan is saying in her ruling, and it is absolutely one of the worst rulings that Donald Trump has ever received. Today's video sponsor is Beam's Dream Powder. How would you define your relationship with sleep? Are there challenges? Do you have trouble falling asleep or even staying asleep? Would you say that your quality of sleep negatively impacts your life? Have you tried other sleep supplements but feel like nothing has really worked? Here's the thing about sleep. It's the foundation of whole body health. When we sleep well, our minds and our bodies perform at their best. Good sleep is both mental and physical, and our daily performance depends on it. Proper sleep can also increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. So, how do you get to your dream state? 3 words: Beam's Dream Powder, which is a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. This product has single-handedly changed the way that I sleep for the better. See, I have trouble. I can fall asleep, but I can't stay asleep throughout the night, and it makes me both physically and mentally exhausted for most of the next day. Beam's Dream Powder allows me to sleep soundly throughout the night and wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine too. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk, froth it, and enjoy before bedtime. Beam is trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. It's no wonder Forbes and the New York Times are all talking about them. And if you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/ROF and use code ROF at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/ROF and use code ROF for up to 40% off.